to the Media Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vedabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
We're taking a brief break from Star Wars Nerds to talk about the best and worst media of the year. Well, mostly the best. I don't think I'm going to say a lot about any worst things, although you have a list of worst words of the year, Kenton.
I keep track of those every single year because as they pop up online or I hear them on TV and they make my skin crawl, so I write them down. And then we purge them.
Never to talk about them again.
But everything else is we just concentrate on the good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. And by the way, next week's Book of Boba Fett, which so back to Star Wars Nerds next week. I'm so pumped for that and excited. And it's making it under the wire of 2021. So that could change everything. It could change everything we talk about.
I mean, ultimately, with regards to the specifics of, we're not actually going to talk about movies as far as the movies we saw and what we liked, but we'll talk more specifically about film or closer to Oscar time. We'll probably talk more specifically about TV and streaming closer to Emmy time and that kind of stuff, because Book of Boba Fett may be up for Emmys. Do you think that's why they did that? Is to get it in? Does that count? Maybe. I guess no. The deadline for Emmys is like in June or something stupid like that. It's not It's not at the end of the year. Never mind.
Well, they also promised us it would be December.
Right. No,
and that's the latest it could be.
No, they promised it would be 2021, is what they said.
I think it said December though. I think it said coming December 2021. So I think it was like that to be true to their promise. That's what they had to do.
And that was the final Wednesday, and they're just sticking with Wednesday releases.
Yeah.
That was the other thing we could talk about is the Marvel series, right? Because we did get a lot of Marvel series. So let's talk about that as well. But first, speaking of Marvel, I just wanted to ask you, have you seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet?
I have not seen, and we're in the middle of COVID, and a friend of mine texted me and said, I got my booster shot, so should I sneak into the theater quick to see Spider-Man before before they close everything again? And I did not respond, so I don't know whether he went or not, but I likely would have seen it were it not for the big surge again.
Oh, that's true.
How about you? You've seen it?
Of course, yes. We went and saw it last weekend. I had to get out.
Oh, good for you. And I know some of the spoilers. I know some of them.
I'm not going to talk about the specifics. Well, there's one issue I have with it, and it's not really the same issue I had with the last time, but damage control is portrayed. I actually made a TikTok about it. I don't like the way they portray damage control in these movies. They were the first one wasn't too bad with Tyne Daly when she showed up in Homecoming. That was fine because they were just there to kind of clean up and catalog all the stuff from that battle. But in this one, they're more like damage control is more like the cops and more like law enforcement and government, like S.H.I.E.L.D. was in the early MCU films. So I don't like that. But otherwise, it was a lot of fun. And I will say that it was probably the best theater going experience of the year for me. That's why I wanted to mention it, because the crowd was into it. They were cheering.
How many times did you go to a theater this year?
I would say probably about 10 times maybe.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I got it. I'll have to make a list. I should have done that before we started recording. Anyway,
I believe I went to none in the theater. I think none. I think I'm at the total of none.
Yeah, I know. That's why I asked. I was wondering because there's a lot of hype around Spider-Man right now, and you probably were feeling the excitement. I know that if there was anything to get you to the theater, it might have been that or a Star Wars movie would have been for sure. I think you would have gone for sure for a Star Wars movie.
Even then, I might have waited. It's just. Hey, all the news we're getting is grim. Let's just put it that way. And it started the day Spider-Man came out.
And I don't care about any of it. That's why I did that. I'm like, no, this is going to I know exactly what your friend was saying. I knew it's all going to shut down. We're not going to be able to go to the theater after this. And I got to say, like the cheers and the way the crowd, it was not a full theater by any means. It was not like, certainly it was like a Saturday afternoon or something like that. But it was certainly a really rowdy crowd and they were into it. And my kids thought it was really hilarious, actually. I don't think my kids had ever been to a movie in which people were cheering like that.
Wow.
They have been to Star Wars movies, so.
Did everyone have a mask on?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Did you have like some creepy guy sitting in the seat next to you, crunching with his feet up, crunching his popcorn, or did you escape
2 seats down,
a couple seats away?
Yes.
Did you choose your seats based on where all the other people were?
Well, I always choose aisle seats. That's my that's my go-to. But it's
that's what I do too.
Yeah, but I kind of let the kids sit closest, and I would love to be on the aisle seat, but I let the kids have it, and I'm closest to the person.
Very good.
I see. I'm shielding them with my body, Kenton. That's how it works, right?
So you are an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you're damage control. As you,
That's right.
as you sit there.
No. And what I said in the TikTok is that I would love for them to do a full-on like adaptation of Damage Control, the series. Like there was a few miniseries comics that were released in the early '90s, and it would be more of a comedy or a sitcom. And then somebody brought up in the comments of that video that they did try to make one of those, and then it just did not get to pilot, or it did not make it past pilot. Something happened there to cause that to fail. But I wish they would try it again because I love Damage Control.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing, I've made no secret that the Marvel Universe after the last Avengers film has just kind of got the air knocked out of it. It's just not as interesting. So the fact that this movie comes along and everybody loves it, I think is, as long as it's not a one-off, as long as they can keep this going, then if they keep that going, like the high quality stuff that's knocking it out of the park, I was very happy to hear it from almost every reviewer is saying it's awesome. Yeah. Whereas I have to say I'm underwhelmed by the last TV series, which we'll talk about. And Shang-Chi's fine, but not incredible. Black Widow, fine, not incredible. And probably a little less than fine. Probably, well, I'm not going to say bad, but it wasn't great.
If they had released, what they should have done, obviously, is release Black Widow when it happens, or in the timeline after Civil War, but they didn't. And I think that if they had, it probably would have not done as well, and that might have derailed the whole thing. And they didn't want to derail anything. That's why they were worried about it. But yes, and they did. Of course, you are talking about Hawkeye, which was the latest series that came out, which we just got the finale this week. Only 6 episodes, and I was kind of underwhelmed as well. We might as well just get into it. Like
the pacing was terrible.
Yeah,
just awful pacing. It wasn't without its pleasures. There's things that were okay in there.
Oh yeah. Can I please give a shout out to Alex Ponovic, who was hilarious as the head Russian guy, the head mover guy. Oh yeah. He's from Winnipeg. And he's kind of been doing little bit parts here and there around Hollywood. He was in like the latest Planet of the Apes movie, but he was an ape, so you didn't get to see his face. But he was really good in this, and I thought I love those Russians. I love that whole gimmick with the crooks kind of being funny. That was good. But yeah, some of it was, oh man. I guess we could talk spoilers here. Most people who are fans would have seen it by now. So yeah, and
there's not too much to spoil. Let's be honest. Like it was a bit of a placeholder, all things considered,
and a bit of their attempt at a Christmas movie or something like that, because it was very, very heavily Christmas themed, and I don't like that necessarily. I don't think this was a Christmas story. Well, it's a Christmas story, fine. It's about togetherness. It's about family, blah blah blah. But it's like kind of arbitrary in this case. They could have done that at any time, and it wouldn't have mattered. It didn't have to be Christmas, I don't think, in this case.
It could have worked. I thought the trailer. I tweeted that the trailer made it look like James Bond with arrows in New York City at Christmas time. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. Like just like the fun you could have, because they showed him in the tux and he's shooting this stuff, showed the most fun you could have with Hawkeye. And then when the actual show rolls out, I said it reminded me of Cop and a Half. Like it's like I told you, kid.
Who's the half? The girl? I guess is the girl. Half.
Yeah. Like I told you I work alone. All right. Like, yeah. How many episodes of I told you I work alone?
That is a reference and a half, man. That is like Burt Reynolds. Is that Burt Reynolds?
Yes, Burt Reynolds and a little kid.
Listen, okay, just as a quick aside. So I'll take one of the things on TikTok, or people say, comment an actor, and I'll show you how many movies I have with them in their collection. So I commented Burt Reynolds. He hasn't got back to me yet. So I don't know.
Burt Reynolds hasn't answered yet.
No, the guy. I don't think the guy has any Burt Reynolds movies in his collection. He probably doesn't know who Burt Reynolds is, because most of these kids are honestly 13-year-old kids. Anyway, but my main issue with Hawkeye, I was into it. I was happy. It was good. I was recognizing people that I hadn't seen in a while, little actors here and there and stuff like that. I didn't even mind the tie-in of the sister of what's her face from. She was good, actually. I like her.
Yes, you know why? Because she has charisma. She can act. She showed up and I was like, what? This we haven't seen this on this show before. Personality, charisma.
She really did stand out. Yes, it really was like,
yes, a person taking an interest in her role. Unlike the sidekick. And I kept thinking after she appeared on the show, I was like, she should have been the sidekick.
Right.
That's what they should have done.
Instead of this other one, make it Clint in this other one. Yes, for sure.
That would have been amazing.
Like, why does it have to be another person that shoots arrows? Now we have a clone. Now we have a clone of, she's a clone of Black Widow, so she's going to be the Black Widow. Now we have a clone of Hawkeye, someone they can cast in the next 10 Marvel movies going forward, right? That's what they're doing here.
So he can leave because he's clearly sleepwalking through the role of Hawkeye.
He's been doing this for a decade, Ken. He wants out. He like Jeremy Renner's like, please, can I go on? I want to win an Oscar, goddammit.
Yeah, so he's getting, so he has to train the actor who has less acting and archery experience. And but my favorite part of the entire thing is the final thing that you see on Hawkeye, which is the musical number from Rogers. That's the credit scene from Rogers, the musical. And by the way, it would be called Cap. The musical would be called Cap. It would not be Rogers the musical.
Oh my God, that was so bad. That was so bad. Can I say I've only seen one Broadway show. I went. And I gotta say, it's gotta be. It was so much better than that. It was so much better than that.
It was a down. It was definitely.
It was done deliberately, meant to be cheesy, right? That was it. But the problem with that final thing is that you make you sit through, and I have the same beef about. By the way, I'll just tell this right now. Don't bother sitting through the credits of No Way Home if you go, because you're just gonna get the trailer for the Doctor Strange movie. That's all they fucking did. It's put the trailer. I'm so mad about it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like my kids are like, we gotta wait. We're like, okay, let's wait. And it was through that long part. It wasn't like the one they show between like the types of credits. It was like the wait all the way to the end, and there's just a trailer for the Doctor Strange movie, which is now available online, by the way. So I
saw it today. Minutes. Yeah, I saw it today, and I was like, I didn't know this thing was. I thought this was part of the Spider-Man movie. I don't know what's going on.
Right, exactly, right. But anyway, so then the other thing is that my issue with this is that the Deus Ex Kingpin, or whatever you want to call it, like that whole come on, what was the point of that?
It goes nowhere. They introduced Kingpin in the second last episode, and everybody loves Vincent D'Onofrio.
Sure.
All right, so good. Yay, we have some more charisma. In theory, on paper, we have some charisma. He shows up. He has nothing to do. They have him seated at a desk with a laptop on it, which doesn't make the Kingpin is like tweeting people or something. Like it doesn't make any
job, Kenton.
Yeah, he's got a day job. Yeah, he's sitting at a work desk. Like what? And the callbacks, the way he's dressed, he's supposed to be Marlon Brando. Just put him in the Godfather, put him on the other side of the Godfather desk, shine a light on him, get some shadow on him, and then you got Marlon Brando. But then he's indestructible until he's destructible. And why do we need him? Why do we introduce him in at the very end of the second last episode, only to have him in an already crowded final,
and then they kill him, in the end, or we presume they kill him. Like it's off screen, right? Because it has to be safe for the kids. But yeah, what was the point? And again, I'm going to do one more spoiler for Spider-Man. So one spoiler for Spider-Man. So if you really don't want to know, you can fast forward.
It's fine. It's fine.
You know what? I'm sure Charlie Cox is in the first few minutes of the movie. Like Daredevil is in there. So obviously they're introducing him for future somethings. And in the same week, the villain from that series shows up and is killed off. So was that like just saying, by the way, is it just for all the tweeters that saying he's not going to be in anything else? Stop saying that. Is that what it's for? It's just tell people like Vincent D'Onofrio's done. We're done with the Kingpin for now.
I don't think he is done. I don't think he is, in fact. I think it's a bait and switch.
Okay. Wow.
Because then he'll show up in the Daredevil movie with a bullet through his head or something and be like, I'm indestructible.
The problem is there's no continuity here between the two. Like this is just a limited series, so we're not going to get another season of Hawkeye. It was just the 6 episodes and that's it. And this is, by the way, the villain from the Daredevil series from Netflix, which ended years ago. And I can't even remember how it ended. Like what was the Kingpin doing at the end of that series? I don't remember.
All I remember is it took the whole first season to see Daredevil in the costume.
Right. Yes.
And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. It was before they knew how to do a series.
It really was. Yeah. And I was thinking about that too. It's interesting that they went, like they did those series before Disney Plus or anything existed, right? And that was kind of their like we got to keep this going. And there's all this debate online. I don't know if you've seen this as to whether or not those series are actually canon and part of the MCU, which is why I guess they included Charlie Cox in. But the thing is, I'm not even 100% that the Spider-Man movies are MCU. Like that's I think of that as the Spider-Verse. Honestly, it's the 3 Spider-Man movies have certain characters from the MCU in it, but not all of them. right? We didn't actually get Captain America in the Spider-Man movies. So we have this music. Oh no, sorry, the music. I'm getting all confused now. The musical version was in the Hawkeye thing. Anyway, never mind.
But it's the musical is also, I saw this online too, though I haven't seen the movie. I take it the musical is referenced in Spider-Man, the most recent Spider-Man.
I missed it then. I didn't know that.
There is a reference to it in Spider-Man, from what I understand, from what I've read online, and I've seen it multiple times.
Well, I saw both things in the same weeks, and I'm blurring them together. And to me,
but that's what Marvel wants you to do. It wants you to blur them together. It wants you to think of them no differently.
Oh, I'm starting to think of them all differently, and that's not in a good way. It's starting to become a chore. I gotta say, it's starting to become a chore to see these movies. I did not see Eternals in the theater. I don't care to see Eternals.
No, me neither. I'll never see it.
I don't even know what's coming out next, and this is starting to get old, Kenton. I think they should just wrap it up. You know, like there's no rule that says you have to keep going forever with this. Do you have to run into the ground? You know?
Well, here's the thing: if you pause it for 2 years and you come back with the next run of movies and the next chapter, and you've thought it through, it could be really good. But if you're just going to string people along and keep it going with threadbare plot lines and barely, like, there's a whole weird subplot in Hawkeye involving him wearing a hearing aid, American Sign Language.
Was that established before that he was deaf or had a hard of hearing or whatever? I don't remember anything about that.
I wish somebody could tell me, because I don't remember any of that either. And it was almost like, is this film being bankrolled by the ASL Association of America? Like, when did this become a plot point? And I'm not, it just happened 1,000 times in the show, which made me there's, it's great to show people of all abilities, of course, but it calls attention to itself. And I thought they were setting us up for some big thing to happen in which the ability to hear would in fact be crippling, and the ability to not hear would save you.
Right.
I thought that has to be where this is going. Otherwise, why do we need to establish who can hear and who can't hear?
Well, because the other character can't hear. The villainess there. What's her name? I don't. But again, that's not that important. Like, it's fine if she can't hear. Who cares? Like, she talks.
I thought it was gonna be important.
Yeah, exactly. It was it kind of placed false importance on it. Right?
Yeah.
We gotta move on. We're spending too much time on. Clearly, neither of us liked it. But it was.
Hawkeye was not good. It wasn't.
And honestly, of the Marvel, and I think that didn't WandaVision come out technically last year? So WandaVision wasn't.
No, it was January.
Was it January? Okay, so
yeah.
WandaVision is the best in my opinion of those series.
It is
hands down, and I hope that they go back to that, because what they did was different in WandaVision. That's why it works. And then the problem is it gets bad at the end because they went back to what they did at the end with all the CGI stuff. But really the best part of WandaVision is the stuff that was all kind of all weird and different, and that was what they should do more of. Any Doctor Strange movie should be strange, you know. All right, let's talk about other series. What was your favorite overall series of the year?
Well, I've got this was one of the hardest years because there was so much great TV. But I said number one for me was on HBO. It was The White Lotus. Number one. Okay, I just thought that they took something that looked like it was going to be a summer filler during COVID, and it ended up being a real talker. And everyone I know who's watched it is just like, holy crap, did you see The White Lotus? Because you really, it's like original characters. It's like a masterclass in rolling out a brand new series. So I got to give it to The White Lotus at number one. How about you?
My favorite series of the year was Midnight Mass. I absolutely loved it. Have you seen this one?
I know about it, but I have not seen it
on Netflix, and it's another limited series. So I don't think there's going to be you don't know what's going to happen, I guess. But it was like I think it's 8 episodes, and it's just such a well-told story. Amazing character development, incredible performances, and just so interesting. I could not stop watching it. It was just kind of engrossed me. So that was definitely my favorite. But another big TV show streaming show on Netflix that took the world by storm and that you identified that you wanted to talk about was Squid Game. What was it that you wanted to say about Squid Game? And what did you think of it?
That is my second favorite show of the year, is Squid Game. And the fact that once again we have a brand new TV series streaming on Netflix, not from North America, that captures the public's imagination. It's dark, but it's comical, but it's bloody. And the degree to which people just watched it and binged it and couldn't wait to talk about it. And the fact you can buy the tracksuits that they wear in the show, and just like the impact it had on at another time when we're still locked down. I just think it just showed how something can just come out of the blue and just capture the imagination of people really fast.
Yeah, so, I didn't watch it. I was not part of that because I think it came out in October and I was in the middle of my horror movie watch, so I waited until after that. But then I did watch it immediately after that, and it is really good. And not only that, you can buy. We were at the mall the other day, and they have the cookies with the umbrella shapes and everything. They have all these, all the tracksuits, all these little gimmicky things you can buy from the show. So it really did kind of penetrate the culture. And my kids were talking about it. My kids were into it. Like everyone's kind of these YouTube videos, these YouTubers that my kids watch are all talking about Squid Game. They're doing the games in real life. They're trying. I saw this one video where they test out the tug of war strategy to see if it would work. And this guy and it didn't work. This guy did it and he didn't work. So I don't know if that would really work or not. But that's the kind of stuff that people did in response to this show.
And the actors on the show made the rounds in North American media, and you just never, like, pre-streaming services, this just wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
that you would see something, and I guess the fact that on talk shows now everybody can just zoom right in and gives another sense of immediacy to that sort of.
Sorry, they had the guests on Zoom, even though it was on Colbert and stuff, and
I think they were all on Zoom. I'm pretty sure they were, but it was fun to kind of see. And I also, if you look on YouTube, there was no TV show that was too small for them to do. They just did the promotional round.
Damn it, we should have reached out.
But they even had some of the actors, there's one that had the actors actually trying to carve out the umbrellas and stuff out of the cookies and everything, and redoing it. And of course, the actors are all good sports, and they all can't just believe that they've been in this show that they thought was going to be the people in Korea would watch it, and it's become a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah. So
it's just sort of fun to see something like that kind of grab the world's attention for a little bit. So I it probably would have been number one on my list, but White Lotus just for sheer quality, I have to give it the edge.
Yeah, and I agree. And that's the kind of thing about Squid Game is that it is good quality. I mean, it's a really good quality show, well put together, well paced, well written. The acting is excellent. I got to say, the character arc for the main character, and I'm not going to even attempt the pronunciation because I would murder it, but that first episode, you hate him. I'm like, oh, this guy's just a jerk. I don't like this guy at all. I hope that I don't have to care about what he does through this show. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, he's so, thank God, he's so, you just love it. And that's what I love about the show, is that the way they kind of make you fall in love with these characters and they change how you feel about the characters. The only part about it I didn't like was the portrayal of the rich, quote unquote, rich people or whatever. People in the mad. That was cartoon. And maybe that was deliberate that they had made him like that, but it was so bad. It was just
it lost a little steam. I agree with you on that too. There was a couple things that weren't quite as good as the rest in there, but once again, the fact that most people binge that thing in a couple nights, including me, tells you it was compelling enough that you wanted to see I
think that has to do with the cliffhanger. There was really good cliffhanger endings. You wanted to keep watching. So that's a show that's designed to be binged for sure.
My favorite album of the year was actually by an 80s band. And this doesn't happen very much. And not just that, an 80s band that only had one minor hit ever in North America. That band is the Blow Monkeys. Their only hit they ever had in North America was called Digging Your Scene. And it was a classic kind of Spandau Ballet style tune. So the Blow Monkeys, just out of the blue last year, released an album called Journey to You. And to my astonishment, it just easily became my favorite album of the year. It sounds like a little bit of R&B, a little bit of soul, a little new wave thrown in there. And I I can listen to it 10,000 times and I just love it. So that to me, my favorite album of the year is a band from the 80s, believe it or not. Once again, it's the Blow Monkeys' Journey to You. And I'm going to also give a shout out to a Canadian band. The only concert that I could see this year because of all the lockdowns was called The Weather Station is the name of the artist. The album is called Ignorance, which is my number 2 favorite album. And my favorite song of the year is from that album called Tried to Tell You, which is also kind of a new wavy and yet quite subtle single from the album. But I noticed that she's coming up on lots and lots of best of lists. She's probably the highest ranked Canadian artist on across the board if you were to add up all the lists of the best of 2021. So The Weather Station is the second one that I will give a shout out to. And that's, we can move on from music.
What about podcasts?
Okay, podcasts. What I tend to do at the end of every year is I try to find a new one that I enjoyed listening to over the previous year. And that for me was Talking Sopranos, the podcast about the Sopranos, going through every single episode of the show with Michael Imperioli and Steven Schirripa. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And the two of them, I just enjoyed the hell out of it. They just did the last episode like last week. And it ends the way you would expect it to end if you know the Sopranos TV show. And they're actually coming to Club Regent next March, and I have a ticket to go, assuming they still do it. And I just enjoyed revisiting all the Sopranos episodes, and they had guests on the show. David Chase, the creator of the show, they had on there. Robert Patrick, who was in The Sopranos in a brief but memorable role. It was just good stuff. Great podcast. It was every Monday, and I look forward to it every Monday. So that's my pick. How about you?
That's good. Oh, that's great. That category podcasts have certainly grown as far as like stars of TV shows starting podcasts. Like The Office Ladies is another one like that, where those two actors like talk about The Office, and they have access, right? They have access to all the people, so they can really put together good content. For me, I really enjoyed a series called The Flamethrowers from CBC, and this is about American talk radio, and specifically it's about right-wing talk radio, so like Rush Limbaugh and stuff like that. And it really tells the story about how this kind of came into popularity, the style of radio came into popularity, the regulations that kind of came up. And I'm a big radio nerd, you know that. So I'd like to learn about this stuff and just like how much it has affected American politics and the influence that it has had on American politics in the last 10 years, especially, is just really staggering. So that's a really great series from CBC. The Flamethrowers is what it's called.
Excellent.
Rush Limbaugh, by the way, it's incredible the kind of accolades that guy received while Bush was in office and while Trump was in office, I guess. But anyway.
And then he died. Yes.
Was he one of the ones that died this year?
Limbaugh, I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year. Right. I've got the longest death list of all time, so he might be in there.
Let's get into it. What else?
Oh, you want me to do the people who died?
We're just doing a natural conversation here. Yeah, let's get into the dead people.
There's literally so many here. So maybe what I'll oh my God. So I'll just do some of the big names here. Tanya Roberts, Tommy Lasorda, Michael Apted, the director, Jessica Campbell, the actress from Election, Siegfried from Siegfried and Roy, Syl Sylvain from the New York Dolls, Phil Spector, Hank Aaron, Gregory Sierra from Barney Miller, Larry King. Oh my God, look at I can't leave anybody out. Jimmy Rogers, Cloris Leachman, Cicely Tyson. Hilton Valentine from The Animals, Dustin Diamond, Screech himself, Hal Holbrook, Christopher Plummer, Leon Spinks, Mary Wilson from The Supremes, Larry Flint, Chick Corea, Rush Limbaugh, there he is in the list, Ferlinghetti, Walter Gretzky, Roger Mudd, oh my God, Yaphet Kotto, George Siegel, Jessica Walter, Beverly Cleary, Prince Philip, DMX, Bernie Madoff, Paul Humphrey, who was also known as Blue Peter from the band Blue Peter in Canada, Walter Mondale, Jim Steinman, the frontman of the Bay City Rollers, Les McKeown. Michael Collins from the Apollo mission, Olympia Dukakis, Norman Lloyd, Charles Grodin, Paul Mooney, Gavin McLeod, BJ Thomas, F. Lee Bailey, Ned Beatty, Frank Bonner from WKRP, Donald Rumsfeld, Richard Donner, the director of Superman, Charlie Robinson from Night Court, Biz Markey, the writer of the Hockey Night in Canada theme, Dolores Clayman, Jackie Mason, Dusty Hill from ZZ Top, Ron Popeil, the infomercial king, J.W. Rinsler, the author of the Star Wars books, Marky Post from Night Court, Tony Esposito, Nancy Griffith, Tony Mendez from David Letterman, the cue card boy from David Letterman, Charlie Watts, Lee Scratch Perry, Ed Asner, Kenny Malone, the drummer, Willard Scott, Michael K. Michael K. Williams.
Yes.
Michael Constantine from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Norm Macdonald. Let's just I'll just jump ahead a little bit here. Alan Coulter, the announcer from David Letterman. Pat Fish, the lead singer of Jazz Butcher. Everett Morton from the English Beat. Can you believe this? I'm in the home stretch. Colin Powell, Peter Scolari, Mort Saul, Astro from UB40, Andrew Barker from 808 State, Stephen Sondheim, Bob Dole, Mike Nesmith, Steve Bronski from the Bronski Beat, and Anne Rice. What?
Robert Downey Sr.
Was he in there too?
Yeah, he died this year too. I had a list, and I was looking at this list, and then one by one you checked off every single person on that list, and he's like the only one left that you didn't have. So
I mean,
he wasn't really people didn't know who Robert Downey Sr. was. All they knew that there was a Robert Downey Jr.
Well, he was an actor though too, right?
He was, yes.
Yeah. So there was more that I skipped over. I skipped over the ones that are a little more, a little more niche. But oh my goodness,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's tough year.
So there we go.
What about the worst words of the year, Kenton? What do you have for us there?
Oh, okay. You're going to pick your least favorite?
Well, yeah, let's hear them and then we'll.
All right. So the worst words of the year. Sorry, just give me a second here. Okay, here we go. So these are words and phrases, the worst. Okay. Help me understand. I'm not that person. That moment you realize. Let me be clear. Second dose. Booster. That's it. That's the tweet. It's in there again this year. Golden hour. Imposter syndrome. Today is a good day. Infill. Foment. Efficacy. No words. It's been a minute. Oh, I hate that. Privilege. Trauma, pain point, self-care.
Pain point causes me many pain points in my head.
Pain point is terrible. It's a business word and it's just awful.
That's true.
We're going to say it's the worst one.
Is there anything else or is that it?
That's it. That's my list for this year. The ones that came up the most.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I can't really add to that. It's just like those things that people say that just kind of make you roll your eyes, right? Like, come on.
Oh, I remember help me understand. That's what a boss says. I'm not pointing to any boss in particular you might know, but help me understand is what a boss says when they think you screwed something up. Help me understand why you have blood dripping from your desk. Like you can help me understand is just like a sort of passive way to get
explain yourself, Sonny.
Right. That's right. So I hate that one too. Yeah. Quite a bit, but I think maybe pain point might be the worst one.
Pain point. I hated that before this year. I certainly hated that one for years.
All right, there we go.
There we go. That one's out of the way. What else? Okay, we should talk about like kind of the overall trends of the social media trends or the overall good, the bad, and the ugly, that kind of stuff.
Well, how about YouTube channel?
Oh, sure.
I'm sure you have one.
Oh, sure. I can think of one.
You want to go first?
You go first. So I'll look up.
Okay. Well, I've got a few things here, but I'm going to say, I am going to give a nod to, there's a YouTube channel called Hood Internet, HOOD, Hood Internet. Mm-hmm. And they do remixes of songs for every single year. And so if you can look at 1985 and they do like a remix video of all the major songs from 1985 and they remix them. They're so clever the way they do it that if they were to actually release an album of all the remixes, I would buy it. It's so good. But I'm going to give a shout out to that. I just think what they do is very, very clever, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I didn't really watch a lot of new stuff on YouTube this year. I have my routine with Rhett and Link in the morning, and I watch Blame Society films. I always watch every week, and those kind of guys. But I would say that this year was the year of Mr. Beast, and that's really through my kids that I've been getting the Mr. Beast. So, and I know that he came around. He was around before that. I think it was really the beginning of the pandemic in 2020 that really helped launch Mr. Beast to fame, and maybe before that as well. But that's certainly when I first became aware of him. When my kids started spending more time at home and watching this stuff all the time, and so Mr. Beast now he's at the point where he just like does these big kind of crazy, it's getting a bit repetitive, to be honest, because he does like this. The last one we watched was YouTuber $1 million hide and seek, and basically he rents an entire stadium, and then these YouTubers, all these really, really famous YouTubers that all have their own, like this is like it's a dream come true for some media person that wants all these influencers in the same room, because they're all together, they all have their own like separate audience, and they're all coming together for this big thing and winning $1 million. But it's just hide and seek. There's nothing else to it. It's not like there's nothing complicated. So the guys, all the hiders have their own cameras, and they're like walking around with their GoPros. One of them was hilarious because he's walking around with his GoPro and he's like talking to the camera and making like vlogging, and as he's hiding, and he gets caught because he's taking too long talking to the camera. So like it's funny, but it's just getting a bit much. But that certainly did dominate my YouTube viewing this year. But otherwise, it's been pretty much the same stuff I've always been watching. Toy Galaxy is still putting out great stuff, so you should watch Toy Galaxy.
Toy Galaxy, yeah. I subscribed to them after you recommended it last year, I think. So absolutely.
But it's really because of TikTok that I've not been watching as much YouTube, because my TikTok has kind of dominated my world for the last few months. I have to say, it really has become the thing I'm checking most, the app I'm on the most on my phone, and it's just like this is definitely 2021 was definitely the year for TikTok, because I think that a lot of people got on this app after a shitty Christmas last year. And it helped get them through this year, and now we're at a much better Christmas. But I don't know, I love it. I've been having a great time with TikTok. How about you?
Oh yeah, I mean, if we're talking about our favorite social media of the year, I'd probably say TikTok too, because you and I did something around the beginning, not really the beginning, a little after the beginning of this year, which is we kind of challenged ourselves to post a video most days. And we pretty much did it. Now you have by far a more loyal viewership than me, although we both had 2 videos go ballistic on there.
I've had more than that go viral now.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
See, yeah. You've tapped into, as I say, like if I open a dumpster and say I'm going to eat whatever's in this dumpster, I think I would have a very big. No, it's not what you do, but sometimes it is in the sense that you pull a DVD out and it's a piece of crap. And you're like, now I'm going to watch this piece of crap.
Yes,
so my version of that would be I'm opening a dumpster and I'm going to eat what I find in it. And I think it would be. But I have
to tell you, I'm not sure about that actually, because I am now looking at I'm at 7,500 followers. At this
Amazing.
Point. Which is by far the most followers I've ever had on any social media platform.
You're knocking it out of the park.
Well, I'm not like, but here's the thing about TikTok, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm starting a new podcast called My TikTok Friends, in which I'm going to interview a lot of the people that I'm interacting with and talking to, because I just think they're interesting people, and I think they have more story to tell than they can tell in a 1-minute video on TikTok, right? So I'm just going to start doing that in the new year. And I'm fascinated by this app, the way it works, the way the algorithm works. It punishes you for being sketchy. So like the whole follow no, it does. It's the whole follow back thing. It's something I used to do on Twitter every once in a while when I wanted to kind of boost like my following and get more people to be aware of the podcast. I would say, okay, I'll just go follow some people who seem to like Star Wars, and then maybe they'll follow me back. If anything, even if they don't follow me back, they'll become aware of the podcast and maybe click through. That's all I'm trying to do there. I'm not trying to spam them with garbage or whatever. But if you do that on this app, it will punish you. It will shadow ban you, and I have been shadow banned.
What's shadow ban?
Shadow banning is when your views go way down. The algorithm drops you out because you're acting like a bot, and that's what happened to me. I started following a bunch of people in the hopes that they would see, like, same thing, they would see what I was doing, like what I was doing, and follow me back. That's it. That's all I was caring about. But because I was following a lot of people at once, the app thought I was a bot. This is true, and I looked it up, and it's legit. And so I think it's legit. Someone's gonna correct me. Chris is gonna correct me. He always does. But I think it is true. And so basically, for a good couple days, I had my views are way down. My and I didn't really care. Like, I'm not trying to invest too much in that kind of stuff, because I think a lot of people do. And that's part of what I'm curious about, is the people on this app seem really focused on like trying to get their views up. They're all very, not all of them, but a lot of them are very like, oh, please let this not flop. Let's see if this, like, they're expecting. The thing is, it's an app where everybody can go viral. Everybody has probably had an experience in which they've gone viral, right? And so a lot of people chase that feeling again. They love that feeling and they chase it. So they keep posting. They think you're going to get it again, but it is, I don't know what the algorithm does. There is an element of chance to it. There is an element of right place, right time, tweeting at the right time or putting it out at the right time. But I will say this, and I didn't really realize this until TikTok started doing their end of the year stuff. And now they have these things where you can say, you can ask a question, what's your most viral video in 2021? And I'm like, oh, that means everybody's got a viral video. That's got to be what that means, right? Like, and so.
Well, maybe not.
Or something they consider to be viral.
Well, what's your most viewed video is like another way to say that.
The phrasing of it got me though, the viral. Anyway, so I said, oh, let's see what happens. So I took my most viral video, which is me picking Mrs. Brown's Boys out of the DVD bin, 500,000 views at this point. And I posted it again yesterday, and it's already up to 40,000.
Yeah, there you go. There's something about you did something there.
But it's because the exact same thing is happening. I'm getting a ton of comments saying it's awesome, it's shite, it's awesome, it's shite. It's happening again. It's this specific thing. It's
the disagreement
show.
Right.
Yeah, I think if you could find another show that is this polarizing and posted it, it would happen again. It would be the same kind of thing. So,
well, famously, Napoleon Dynamite is that thing.
Is it?
That, yes, apparently Netflix, I don't know what the outcome was. They once did a competition to solve the Napoleon Dynamite problem, they called it, which is the recommendation engine has trouble with that film because so many different kinds of people like and hate it. And many of them are from the same demo, the ones who like and hate it. So that might be, maybe you should do that one and just see.
I will, maybe. Well, I would have to pick Napoleon. Well, what I could do is just put out there and say, what do you think of Napoleon Dynamite, and see what people say. That's interesting. Yeah. It's certainly not like, I can see it not being what you would expect. It's a film that really looks different than what it kind of appears to be, I guess you could say. Right. So there's that. That's interesting. I didn't know that about Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. Okay, so that might be worth exploring just to see.
Cool.
But I'm like you. I don't care what happens on there. It's just fun doing it every day. You learn something new every day. You learn about shooting on your shitty phone, whatever kind of phone you have, whatever kind of lighting you use. You learn all of that stuff that you wouldn't otherwise be learning. So, and I also think that the key to doing it is to just not even worry about editing it, not even worry about like if something screws up, so be it. Just post it, move on. Okay. Like, I think it rewards spur of the moment.
It does
more than it does like fancy, glossy. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, nobody cares. Nobody seems to care. And I've struggled with the captions, because the captions, and you've seen it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The auto captions suck, and they always mess up words. Like, it's good for normal words, but when I say Boba Fett, it says bubble fat.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, right? And so I've struggled like I started putting on caption because I saw other people doing it, and I'm like, do I really need to put captions on? Do I need to have that? Like, I'm just kind of struggling with those kind of little details. Should I do that or should I not? But yeah, you're right. Generally speaking, it's like, go with what you want to do, go with your gut, kind of have fun. Most importantly, that's above all else, right? If you're not having fun, there's no point. And I'll tell you, this is I have a new TikTok plan now that I have like an audience on TikTok.
Yeah.
My plan is to do 3 videos a day.
Oh my God.
3 videos a day. And I can tell you this, I've gotten my movie video down. Like the 1-minute movie videos that I've been doing. I did 31 of them in October, and I'm going to do another 31 because I'm going to do 6 New Year's movies. I've really gotten that down. I can do one of those in half an hour.
Oh my God. But still half an hour is a long time commitment.
No, every day. Do it in the morning. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to have my coffee. I'm going to watch Rhett and Link, and then I'm going to make a TikTok. Then I'm going to go to work. And then at lunchtime, I'm going to make a TikTok. And then I'm going to I'm going to try and do that anyway. Like a lot of them are going to be like just quick ones and that kind of stuff. It's not all going to be super like intricate, whatever. And I am going to try some of that. Like one thing that TikTok did do for me is that it forced me to really learn Adobe Premiere Pro. I didn't learn it in Creecom. I was in the Final Cut years. Like I learned Final Cut, and then of course like the next year everybody drops Final Cut, so that didn't do me much good. But Premiere Pro has always been something that we've had, and of course we've been teaching in our program, but I haven't touched it the entire time. And so this time, because I had to learn how to edit for a phone, to learn the vertical editing, I had to figure that out, and I did, and it was really cool. And I'm like, oh, now I know how to do this, and it's actually kind of easy. So that's what I'm
easier than ever.
Yes, that's what it's forcing me to learn new things, and I really like that.
Excellent.
What else? Anything else? I feel like
there's more. I was going to say, I don't know if you have a book recommendation for this year.
No, but I am going to start reading more this year, so I will have some next year.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give a shout out to my favorite book of the year, and that's Bruce Springsteen's guitarist, Little Steven, Miami Steve Van Zandt. He's his book is called Unrequited Infatuations, which is a great title. Mm-hmm. But what's great about his book is he's the guy who stands next to Bruce Springsteen. And in the book, he wonders aloud, how come when I'm with Bruce Springsteen, we can play millions of people a night, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people on every tour, but that when Little Steven tours on his own, he can't even get 1% of that audience to show up to come see him. Like, he's like, what's going on? It's like, he's like having the discussion we just had about TikTok. Like, what's going on? How come I can't get people, 1% of the crowd who comes to see me or comes to see Bruce Springsteen? Why won't even 1% come and check me out when I tour alone? And he's got, he also gives lots of like little warts and all kind of looks at musicians he likes or he doesn't like and his experience with them. It's just a really good, frank book about being in the music business. And, when he's with Bruce Springsteen, he's knocking it out of the park with millions of people. And then he seems like he deep down inside, he feels as though he's struggling as a solo artist. So it's a really interesting dichotomy he's got going. So once again, it's Little Steven is the guitarist, and the book is called Unrequited Infatuations.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I mean, you would go see him if he came here, right? Wouldn't you?
I had tickets to see him, but then it got canceled. It was one of the first things that got canceled.
But that would be like, that's an interest. Where was he playing?
The Burton Cummings Theater.
Hey, that's fair. I feel like he would sell that out.
You would imagine. You would imagine that he would, although it was canceled. I can't remember if it was canceled because of COVID. I actually think he got sick or something, and then the last few tour dates got canceled.
Does he talk specific numbers or no? He just kind of says that in general he doesn't get a lot of people at his shows.
No, and he even says like more people come to see him in Norway because they watch the show Lilyhammer on Netflix. He's like, that's who comes to see him, and he's like, it's more of a curiosity. Like they'll come to see him because they watch Lilyhammer, but they don't know. And he says it's freeing because nobody knows any hit songs that I've ever written, except they know Sun City. But he said Sun City never got played on the radio. People know it because of the video.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna play Sun City. That's probably the one thing he's known most for. But he says so because people show up to see him, he can play any song he wants. They don't know if he wrote it or didn't write it, or he could do covers. He could do whatever he wants. And he's like, the thing that everybody's like blown away with is the size of the band that he takes on tour, because there's horns and there's it's a big band. But he said, we're probably like the biggest band with the narrowest profit margin that goes on tour.
Yeah, I certainly would go see that show. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know.
I love his music too. I own his solo album.
He does have a bit of, you're right. He feels like he's struggling, but I think that is a bit of an issue with a lot of people. You talk about, I think I saw, I'm trying to think of it. The guitarist for Aerosmith. I'm blanking on his name.
Oh,
Joe.
Yeah. Steven Tyler and Joe. Joe Perry.
Joe Perry. The Joe Perry experience. Yes,
God.
the Joe Perry experience opened up for some concert I saw. But honestly, it's they're playing their original songs that they wrote, and then at the end he played a couple of Aerosmith tunes, and people love the Aerosmith tunes, and I'm sure it's the same thing with Little Steven. Like, he'll play at the end a couple of Springsteen hits, and people love that, but he's singing it, not Springsteen, probably, I would imagine.
Well,
right?
I don't know that I think he only plays a Bruce Springsteen song when Bruce actually shows up and surprises people.
Okay. Yeah.
And he does the same, like Peter Wolf showed up on some of his tours and
that's why he doesn't get the crowd then, because they want to see Bruce. Oh, okay, I get it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
They just want to see, although Bruce will show up at some of his shows.
So that's what people are hoping. That's right. They're just hoping they're going to see Bruce.
They hope they see Bruce, maybe. Yeah.
And they're disappointed when they don't.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, that's only a small bit of the book where he writes about that. But it's a delightful read. It really is.
Cool. Very cool. That's it. Yeah, I don't have anything else as far as the best and worst of the year. I mean, it was a year. It certainly was a year, Kenton. We're gonna
do the full film discussion around the Oscar time. But why don't we say, is there one film that captured your attention more than others this year?
Well, I would say the one film that I enjoyed the most was the film going experience was the Spider-Man experience. That was the best one as far as just going to the movies. That was awesome. And I can't wait for that to happen again. But the movie I really enjoyed was Last Night in Soho, the new Edgar Wright film. Which came out it's kind of a horror movie. It is a horror movie. It's categorized as a horror film, although there's not a lot of horror elements. It's kind of more of a suspense-y kind of film, but it's beautifully shot and so cool and got a great soundtrack and just great acting throughout. So that was a really good movie. Last Night in Soho. I think it's available on streaming now if you haven't seen it. It's really
awesome. And I'm going to say you recommended a movie to me earlier this year, and I finally saw it, and I found it an absolute delight, and that's Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds.
And there's okay,
delightful. I thought it was a very it has a positive vibe.
It does, yes. You're right.
It's funny. It's got a Star Wars scene at the end, which I did not see coming, and it actually gave me goosebumps when I saw it. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
I think they called too much attention to that, to be honest.
I was all in.
Okay.
I was like, nah, they had me at that point.
Okay.
I just enjoyed the hell out of it. And it looked like something that was going to be Groundhog Day. And it was not. It's had its own vibe and its own sense of humor. And I was along for the ride. I really got a kick out of that film. And I think it would be a shame if people didn't see it because they thought it's going to be like Groundhog Day. I just think it's just a fun, positive film to watch around the end of the year when you're feeling glum about the Omicron lockdown.
There you go. It's good. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And honestly, I've watched it again since. Like, I've seen it more than once now, and it's just as good the second time. Like, there's stuff you don't notice. There's a lot of stuff in there, a lot of little funny jokes. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, I did roll my eyes at that Star Wars moment. I did. I was like, you know what? They did the one thing before that, and then they do this thing, and I'm like, come on, guys. Like, there was the other one was better. I thought the Marvel thing was better. I'll say that.
I loved it. And how about documentary? Last one.
I did not see any documentaries.
Did you see? I think you did.
Oh, what did I see?
Did you see Val on Amazon Prime?
Okay, there you go. Best documentary of the year. Best documentary I saw.
I saw like 100 documentaries, and I love that one the most, probably. Okay. So if that's the one that you saw, I just want to give a shout out to that. Val Kilmer's documentary on Amazon Prime. Val.
And
awesome
I'll say this.
movie.
I also watched recently Kiss Kiss Bang Bang recently.
Love it.
And he's really good in that. I forgot how good he is in that film. Like, if you just want to see a great Val Kilmer performance, watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's kind of a Christmas movie. It's set at Christmas time.
Yeah.
You could make that excuse. All right. I think that's going to do it. It's been a really interesting year, Kenton.
What a year it's been. Are we meeting next week to talk about Book of Boba Fett?
We will, yes. Let's watch Book of Boba Fett, and then we will have our Star Wars nerds. We will basically be going week by week. We'll be doing episode breakdowns of Book of Boba Fett. I think that's what we're going to do, right?
We will save our Happy New Year for then.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely.
We won't say it now. Yeah.
Merry Christmas, though, Kenton.
Yes, and a Merry Christmas to you too.
And to all our listeners.
And to everybody who listened to us trying to remember things over the course of the last year.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Media Nerds. I'm Dan Vadebonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the door hit you on the ass.